Well, welcome to another week of Wonderful Day in the Lord. We are in the middle of 1 Corinthians right now, looking at some of the commandments of the New Testament for God's children. We know the Lord said that if you love me, you will obey me. We know 1 John 5 tells us that his commandments are not burdensome, and they're actually a sign of spiritual life. So we want to know what some of those commands are. So that's kind of what we're pursuing together in these days. And we're going to spend the rest of this week, all this week, finishing up 5 more commands found in the book of 1 Corinthians. Again, there's probably dozens we're leaving on the table, but these are important commands that we'll look at together. We're in chapter 10, verse 12 right now, 12 and 13, this very important passage of Scripture dealing with sin and temptation. It says in 10:12, therefore let him who thinks he stand take heed that he does not fall. There's our command for today, that we should take heed lest we fall. Now, he prefaced that by saying those who think they stand are in a precarious situation. So he had once again, for the numerous times in this particular epistle, he is warning the Corinthians about their arrogance. They're arrogant about one thing after the other. And here they are apparently arrogant about their own temptations and sins. So they seem to think that they were unlike the people of Israel. This was the illustration he just came from. They're unlike the people of Israel who grumbled and complained and came under the judgment of God. They're not like that. But Paul is saying, well, you're not far from it. And so if you think that you stand, you're not like Israel. You're not going to stumble. You're not going to fall. If you think you stand, be careful. Take heed lest you fall. And so that's a wonderful warning to them and to us. We all need to be very careful there. I think the arrogance and pride often exhibited in our own lives is the very reason we do stumble. We don't think we can fall, and so we do. I remember some years ago, one of my favorite authors at the time, a Christian man who had written books on a number of things on Christian living and one book on marriage. And he had basically said, I may stumble in some areas of my Christian life, but I would never fall in the area of immorality or cheating on my wife. What happened? Well, sadly, very sadly, lo and behold, he did exactly that. And his whole ministry was destroyed basically by that. He was able to recover to a certain degree, and his marriage stayed together by God's grace. And he went on to have somewhat of a ministry, but not like what he had before. He had gotten to the point where he believed he could not fall. And because he believed that, he put himself in a position where he did. Now, the next verse is what better known to us, but it says, no temptation has overtaken you, but such as is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you're able, but with the temptation provide the way of escape also, that you may be able to endure it. We're so grateful God placed this verse of Scripture in the Bible for us. He tells us no temptation has overtaken you, but such is common to man. In other words, you're not going to be tempted in ways that nobody else ever has. Your temptations are not greater or different than any other believers. Not saying that every believer is tempted in the same way to the same degree as everybody else, but this is not uncommon. So whatever you want to look at, whatever issue you're facing in life, others have faced the same thing. So that's a comfort to us, I believe. But he will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you're able. Therefore, there's never comes a place in our place of temptation where we can honestly say, this was too much for me. That why did the Lord bring this into my life? Why isn't he taking care of me? You'll never come to that place where that is honestly true. He will never put you in a position to be tempted beyond what you're able, and he will always, it says, provide the way of escape for us. There's going to always be an escape hatch, a way out of this temptation. It's there, and he says that you might be able to endure it. I like this word endure because it's the idea that perhaps you might be put in a situation that you can't get away from. Maybe a work situation or a family problem or whatever, where you simply cannot walk away from this. But if that's the case and you cannot escape it, he says, I will give you the strength to endure it. So temptation is part of the Christian life, and we need to be aware of that. But the command today that we started with is important. Take heed that you do not stumble because you think you cannot fall. That's important to remember. We will look at another set of commands tomorrow.